Hi, I'm Stephen Downs, and welcome to another installment of Stephen Follows Instructions. And I'll be doing a little bit different today. I won't be following a single article, but I will be using articles. I want to preface this. I'm pretty sensitive to the fact that a lot of the things that I do might seem really simple to people who actually know what they're doing, which is probably everybody who works in Docker. And so, here I am, a researcher looking pretty stupid doing these videos. And so I just want to make clear why I do these videos, because it's not to make myself look stupid, although I don't really mind doing that. It's so that other people see how I'm approaching these problems. And a lot of the time, I don't know how I'm approaching these problems. That's why they're problems. I don't have a nice, easy kind of approach, set of procedures. I remember one person who was actually commenting on this. I ran into an issue, and they said, "Well, what's working?" Well, that's terrific advice, right? Find out what's working and work back from there. And I've done that a lot of times. And I even sort of did it that time. But that's not 100% the solution, right? Sometimes, you don't know what's working. Although it's often a good idea to... I'm sensitive. My mustache is out of balance. It's often a good idea to work back to what's working and what's not working. But even so, not 100%. Sometimes you're just conceptually lost. Yesterday, I did a video where I started off wondering how I had done something and rooted around my own code looking to see how I had done something. Couldn't find it. Went, oh well, I'll just follow the instructions anyways. And at the end of an hour and a half, running through problems as usual, I discovered that the solution that I found was in fact the solution I had actually implemented in the first place. But, I guess when I did it the first time, I didn't know why I had done it that way. And that's why you can't just follow worked examples, because you're going to hit stuff like that all the time. And I know that because I've spent my whole life, and look at the gray hair, I've spent my whole life working through these kind of things, right? And worked examples are great, but you've got to do more. So that's the preface, okay? So now let's get to what I'm up to today. And I'm going to draw some pictures first. It's helpful for me, but I think it'll also be helpful for you. I'll just haul up PowerPoint here. And so ignore the other stuff. I'm working on a presentation I'm doing next week, but I'm just going to use this. So I'll just create a new blank slide to work with here. All right. Okay. So let's see now. Let's give you some facial expression too, although I'll be looking away a fair bit. There's no way around that. Well, there are ways around that, but I'm not using them. Okay, so here's what I've got. So I've got an image that won't draw. Oh, come on, guys. Here we go. All right. And we'll just get rid of the fill. Oops, that's text. I always do that. Let's get rid of the shape fill. All right. So this, we'll call this a host because that's what they call it, right? So insert text box host. There's probably a shortcut, but whatever. All right. So this is our host. And on this host, now that I have it, I can just copy it. Control C, Control V. And put more text in here. I love using PowerPoint to draw pictures. It really is the easiest picture drawing program that I know. So this host has in it somewhere Docker, the program running, right? Docker. So I'm on a Windows system, so I use .exe, but of course I use Linux /. But the main thing is Docker's running on this computer. All right. So I've used Docker and I've created a container. And I'll fill again. In fact, I've created 2 containers. And we'll come back to how I've created those in a little bit. But this is my situation, right? So there they are. Now, ultimately, I want all of this to be a website that people can use. So, and my website is it's a web service. It'll be running under secure socket layers, which means that it uses port 443. That's just your secure port for web applications. You never see the port 443, but anytime you type HTTPS, that's what you're accessing, right? And and here is 443. So this is my container, right? And so it's making 443 available, and then I'm going to map that at some point to that. But I'm not worried about that. Okay, I've got that part pretty much figured out. And you use a port mapping command to do that. All right. So, but in here, right, so let's get a little more text going. In here, I've got, this is a Docker container, so I'll make sure I call it container. And in fact, I have 2 of them, Control C, Control V. So there's the other one. And then inside my container, I have a web server, and an application. In my case, it's a Perl application, but who cares? And let's say I have my SQL client as well. All right. Now, usually the way this works, right, if you're doing an ordinary website, you'll also have MySQL in your container, and so your web server will execute a MySQL command to get some data to send to the web. All right. But the way I've done it is I've put, because this is what people tell me you should do, and all the examples on the web are set up this way. All right. You put your MySQL server in another container. All right. So the idea here is, right, and that's why I'm going to indent these, right? The idea is in each container you have only one constantly running application. That's how I'll put it. So this one has my web server, which is always on, always listening for connections. This one has the MySQL server, and no problem, right? Yeah. So just moving things here a little bit. Now, MySQL uses port 3306. And I can actually do a mapping with that, and in fact I have, so that it maps to port 3306 on my container, or on my host. And I can use, PHP myadmin or adminer or whatever to oh geez, come on, copy, Control C, Control V. 3306. 3306. Okay, we'll get rid of these extra arrows. So far, so good. All right, so there we are. Okay. So I have something like this working, and I'll show you in a bit how that's set up. Right. Now, but the way I do it is I connect using the Perl DBI. And the Perl DBI just simply says localhost. This whole host can be referred to as localhost. Right? So when I say localhost, for Perl, for my web server, it has no, it'll actually look to the local host for 3306, make the connection, we're good. At least I think that's what's happening. All right. Now, where it gets interesting is I want to run a command called Mysql Dump. And here's it should run. Well, I could have put all that right in the same thing, couldn't I? All right. So Mysql Dump. Now, what Mysql Dump does is it copies my entire database and saves it into an SQL file. So let me just create that SQL file. La-dee-da-dee-da. Backup, call it backup. Because that's what it is, right? Backup.sql. All right. I hate when it capitalizes stuff. Okay. How do I do that? Well, this is where life gets tricky. There is all kinds of instruction on how to do it from the host. And what you do is you run an exec command and just run the command directly. So in fact, let's have a look at that. So we'll do a quick search. Run mysql dump docker. There's all kinds of ways you can search for it, right? So here we go. As you can see, I've been here before, right? So here's the command you use. And this command works. I've tested it. So let's come back to my picture, right? So in the host, I run this command. Okay. And you see here, Docker execute container. That's the name of my container. So our containers have to have names, right? MySQL is what we'll call this container. And container, we'll call this container, let's call it my server for now. It's actually called Grasshopper. But, all right, so container exec MySQL. Okay, so user bin MySQL dump. Okay, user root, password equals root. Database, that's the name of the database. So my database is called Grasshopper, but it could be called anything, right? So we'll just say database. And then this arrow tells me where to put the output, and it's going to put the output into this file for me. Sounds great, right? So here's my problem. I don't want to execute the command from the host because the people using this program aren't accessing the host. I mean, they have the host, they could access the host, but they have to go through a process to get into the host, and then they have to enter this command, make sure all their names are right, etc. I want them to be able to push a button on the website and run the backup, and even better, save the backup to their own computer. Why shouldn't they? But here's the problem. They are in here, right, running Perl, right? So it'll be a Perl command, backup, right, which will use MySQL client, but the database is over here. And so the question is, how do you do it from one container to get it from the other container? That's the hard question. Web is full of this. It's not so full of this. Okay. So far, so good? All right. So, I've done some searching because that's how you go about it. So let's pause for now. Let's see if anybody's actually following. Oh yeah, we got a couple of listeners, or a couple of viewers. Very nice. So viewers, I won't be monitoring this all the time, but if you have a comment or a suggestion, by all means let me know. I really should make this so this can be more interactive, but I don't even announce these live shows. I really should, but then I would be obligated to give one, right? Okay, so how am I going to do that? So here's this is add minor, right? This uses port 3306, and then I access it through localhost 8080. This is actually running in a third container. So is this the one I'm looking for? Deploying MySQL. Okay, this is the one I used yesterday. All right. So, okay, well, I'm pretty sure I saved it in Pocket. So let's come back. Yeah, you'd think I'd prepare all of my resources before going online to do a live video. No. That's for people who know what they're doing. All right, but I did save something in Pocket. So I love Pocket. I just as I'm doing browsing or following tweets or whatever, I'll throw stuff into Pocket. I also save stuff in Feedly. They show up in Pocket, and then I go through Pocket and look at the stuff I might use for my newsletter or whatever. Night and day switching using CSS variables, for night mode for the application. I'll probably use that someday. But okay, I was looking for, and I don't see it. The instructions. I hope I didn't. I might have deleted it. It's not here. I thought and the problem with Pocket is it goes back a long way. So I'll just search. I've searched for it before. I'll just try to find it again. So, controlling MySQL in Docker from another container. Okay. Blog, MySQL Docker containers, understanding the basics. Connect to MySQL server. All right. No. So, can't access. Basic steps for server deployment. How to run MySQL using Docker. Is this the one? Yeah, this is the one I want. Okay. All right. So, what everybody says, what the links I found say is use Docker Compose. So, what Docker Compose does is it's going to set up these two containers for me. And so, what I need to do is set up the two containers. So, let's start a new project. This here is Visual Studio Basic with nice big text. So you can read it on video. I figured out how to do that yesterday, so yay. So that's pretty good. I love this. You can actually read this. This is actually a Docker Compose file that we're looking at here. This is the one for Grasshopper, and something like that would be perfectly good for the current. But I want to run tests, so let's do all of this separate from my Grasshopper project. So I'm going to create and open a new folder. So new folder. What do I call it? MySQL test. Good enough. And we'll select it. Select folder. All right. So all the files will be on this left-hand side here. The text I'm editing will be here, and then down here I will have a terminal running. Right, so here we go, and it starts up in the directory I just created. So far, so good. And now, let's go to my instructions. So we're going to set it up. First of all, so this is going to be my Docker Compose file. I'm just going to copy this. So, version 3.1 services. Now, does mine have server? I think that doesn't work anymore. Oh, I can't see them anymore. Let's zip over back to Grasshopper for a second. There's probably a better way to do this, but oh well. Oh yeah, it does. Okay, never mind. Open folder. MySQL test. Select folder. All right. So I'm going to create a file called Docker Compose .yml, yet another markup language. And there we go. So I know this needs to be a different line. And you have to get the formatting exactly right with Docker Compose, because they decided it would be a cool idea to use the formatting as syntax. Okay, I don't know why they made that through. Remember I talked about the port mapping? If I did this, right, ports, if I did 3307, 3306, that would be like, come back here, this would be 3307. So anyone outside, anyone who's not me, in other words, would have to use 3307 to connect to my database. And who thinks of that? Well, nobody. Well, now everybody. But I'm just going to use 3306. Okay. So, services, DB. Seen again. All this needs to be formatted properly. I think that's right. Or let's go back to Grasshopper just to look at what's working, right? Save. All right. Okay, services is on its own line, then DB, then image, etc. Okay. Let's come back to the folder I was working in, MySQL test. Okay. See, I always forget this stuff, right? Because it's so picky. What I really prefer is like real syntax, so that there's no ambiguity. I did a shift tab to make it all move that over like that. Pretty cool, huh? So that's a neat thing with Visual Studio Code. You can select a bunch of stuff and hit Tab to move it over and Shift Tab to move it back. Okay. All right. Okay, that looks good. Maybe. I know it's messed with the formatting. Yeah, the environment needs to be indented, the ports and the volumes. Okay, so let's make sure we indent that. Shift, or Tab rather. Tab and Tab. I think that'll all work. Let's save it. And it's pretty easy to test. So in fact, this should work, so let's test this now. So the way to test this is to type docker compose up. And the home variable is not set. What is the home variable? Oh, that variable there. Okay. So, see? Did they say anything about the home variable? See, here I am following the instructions. They say nothing about the home variable. They just throw this code at us, and see, it works for them. Doesn't work for me because the home variable is not set. But we don't need that at the moment, so I'm going to remove that. This will probably come back to be relevant. Well, probably. It will. I've looked ahead. All right, let's try it again. Oops. Still an error. Why? Port is already allocated. Oh, because I'm running something else. Okay. There. I'm also running Grasshopper in the background at the moment, and it's using 3306. So I'll just move it to 3307, and it'll work. There we go. So what it's doing, it's setting up the MySQL server. And here's the money quote right here at the bottom. Ready for connections. Da-da-da-da. Now you see it says port 3306. That's inside the container. So what we've got here now, 3306, and the way we've set it up, 3307 is running there. We don't have any of this done yet. So I can go into this now using one of these exec commands, right? I could run this. In fact, let's copy this. And have I given it I called it MySQL, okay. So it's still running. I'm pointing and you can't see me. It's still running. So I need to open up a new terminal. I mean, this is another thing that confuses beginners, I'm sure, right? How do I work with my terminal when I don't even have a prompt? Well, it's because the application is running in this terminal. You can run it in the background, but I didn't, and it wasn't in the instructions, so okay. But I just clicked plus. Now I have two terminals. One is the Docker Compose, the other is PowerShell, which is the Windows terminal. Now, let's try running this. No such container MySQL. Okay. Image or images. Oh, okay. I didn't give it a name. Okay, so let's see what's running. All right, so here's the Grasshopper stuff. Here's the name. MySQL test DB1. Okay. MySQL test DB1. It got MySQL test from the name of the overall directory. Oh, look at that. That's my backup. Well, yeah. Okay. How could that happen? Well, but there's nothing in it. Yeah, so that's useless. Move to recycle bin, right? Because there was no container. Still produced. Well, it produced an empty backup. All right. A lot of this stuff fails silently like that. All right, so let's try that command again. Except instead of MySQL, MySQL test db1, which is the name of the container, let's try running that. Okay. Unknown database. Right, because the MySQL database is actually called testdb. So let's go with testdb. Okay, using a password on the command line can be insecure. Yes, it can. But it worked. All right. Now, there's probably still nothing in it. Oh, no, there's just some stuff. Okay. So, doing this. Oh, I see. It outputs the SQL right here where I executed the command. So that's handy. That's very handy. Okay, so instead of dumping it here inside the container, it dumped it down here. Right, it dumped it here for us. Let's just make that wider. There we go. So, okay, that's whoops, there we go. That's nice. But that still doesn't solve my problem. All it shows is this all works. So, let's keep going. Okay, Docker compose up No, you just okay. Right. So here it's going to describe how to get into the container and connect to it. So if I run this command from my host, and you see I'm having issues with the medium thing again. Whoops, that's not it. So let's put it, so again, this is another command, so I'll put it on another line here. If I run this, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. I don't know why it put it in a separate window like that. There. If I run that command, I run that command in here. Let's make these both, well, maybe a bit bigger. All right, so these are commands that I'm running in here. And this is the file that the backup command generated for me. Okay, so if I run this command in the host, what that'll do is it'll open up a terminal window in my container. And now I have to, again, get the name of it right. So, because if I just try that, it'll say no such container, but we knew that, so we'll type the name of the container. Do we remember what the container was called? No, we do not. There it is, MySQL test db1. MySQL test. All right, so now we can see I'm in the container because I have that command prompt. And I could access MySQL $user root Notice there's no space there. And password. And then I'd have to enter the password. The password was whatever was in my MySQL Compose root. And see, I'm in MySQL. And show databases. If you show databases, you get pictures of flowers. No, just kidding. And there's test.db, which is the one I created. So everything's perfect. All right, let's move on. Okay, now load data from a file, etc. And that's my tutorial. But it hasn't told me how to get my database information into the other container or how to run my MySQL command from the other container. So here's what I think I need to do. I think I need to link these containers. And then I think I need to run this MySQL command in here, in this container, with a .h for host that specifies this container. And maybe if I'm lucky, I can dump the output just like I dumped the output of SQL here. We'll try that and we'll see if that works. But how do we link the containers? More instructions, different page. Docker compose MySQL link. Okay. I'm looking for the purple text because that'll be things that I've already looked at. This was a pretty good site. Compose and WordPress. But I don't think it had the information I needed. Nope. Docker compose MySQL link. Try the next page. Okay, this is one I did look at. Okay, so we fired up a MySQL container. Is this the one I was just at? I don't think so. Don't think so. See, here's one of these pictures. Yeah, this is not the same. Good. So, right. See, here's what I want, right? MySQL link and then WordPress, but who cares? Whatever. Just link to something. So how are we going to do that? Looking. See, here he's using Docker run commands, and I'm working in Docker Compose. Now, Docker Compose basically is a way of setting up all your run commands ahead of time in a file, basically. So, what he says in run should kind of work, but we're not getting the exact information I need here. Yeah, and now it's getting more detailed logs. Okay. Right idea didn't help me. Let's remove MySQL. Docker Compose. Here we go. Networking Compose. All right. Okay. So here's the simple thing. Services, web, and we're building from a Docker file. All right, so services. So we're going to create, in addition to our database, I'm going to create a second service, and we're going to call it web. And got to make sure that that's right. So it doesn't matter what the ports are. This is 8000. It could be 443. It could be 8080. this build dot. Okay, the dot means the current directory, what that is. And when I say build dot, what it's going to do is look for a Docker file in the current directory. And it's not going to find one, and it'll generate that as an error. Want to see? Sure, of course we do. Oops. I'm using the up and down arrow keys to cycle through commands I've typed in the past, so I don't have to type them again. So Docker compose up. Right. Service web failed to build. Why? Because it's looking for Docker file. Canceled load. Docker ignore. They couldn't find anything. Alright, so looking for Docker file. There is no Docker file. Does this one give me a Docker file to use here? Probably not. Because why would they bother? Because nobody just jumps into the middle of instructions. So, no. I'm going to need something. Let's. I wonder if image. Let's throw an image. Ubuntu. There, Ubuntu. Yeah, let's try that. So what I'm saying is, I'm telling Docker Compose, please download an image called Ubuntu from Docker Hub. That might work. Nope. Doesn't exist. So I noticed it was trying to give me some suggestions. Look at all the suggestions. Nothing from Docker Hub, though. Oh. Never mind, I misread the error. Okay. So I didn't need to do anything. Continue, yes. Alright, so pool access denied. Repository does not exist. It would have been so easy if they had just put like an image here or something, not a reference to a build to something that we haven't talked about at all. And I know you're supposed to start at the beginning and work your way through, but overview, install, Docker build X. I'm just going to try to find a quick example or a quick see, we jump right into Docker Compose. Oh, come on, you stupid. Just looking for a sample Docker file. Oh, very next link was a sample. Here we go. Simple Docker file. We'll use the Alpine Linux image. We'll add some Python to it. We'll create, or we'll move into a work directory. We'll copy into that work directory whatever's in our current directory. We'll run yarn install production to install stuff. I'm going to remove that line, and then it'll run this command. I'll probably remove that line too. In fact, all I really need is this line. So let's do that. Let's make a Docker file. New file. Call it Docker file. And I'll put one line in it. Control S. All right. Would have been a lot easier. Now I have to find where I was. Okay. Would have been a lot easier if they hadn't just assumed I have a Docker file kicking around here. See, suppose your app is in a directory called my app and your Docker compose looks like this. All right. Okay. Let's try running it now. Docker compose up. Oh, no. I forgot to save. Yes. Control S to save. Now let's try it again. Has been removed because it's still trying to pull Ubuntu. All right. I'm going to delete this because it might be interfering with stuff. And I'm going to stop Grasshopper. I doubt that it's interfering with anything, but you know, we're testing. All right. Let's try again. No, it's still trying to pull from Ubuntu. I don't understand. Oh, that's why. I forgot to forgot to edit the Docker file. All because of this, right? Because we have a page where if you use only this page, this will fail. This will fail. All right. Build. This might work. There we go. All right. So what it's doing now is downloading that Alpine image and running MySQLD, and this is ready for connection. So let's open a new PowerShell. Let's run Docker PS to see what's running. We should have two things running. We have one thing running. Why? That's the MySQL image. The other image seems to have crashed. I'm going to open this up and see what happened. Exited 8,000. No, I don't know why it exited. This one's fine. This one simply exited. Guess I needed to make it do something. Oh my goodness, this is annoying. And what gets me is this is Docker's own documentation, right? And I've tried to find something to build for this line, and there's nothing to build. See, we don't even have Docker file anywhere. Okay, let's go getting started. Okay, yeah, so just go back. He wants you to insist that you go through this in a linear way. So okay. Here's the Docker file. All right, so and I have to create this app.py. All right, we'll create. See, and new file, app.py. This is a Python application using something called Flask. Flask is a super simple super simple Python web server, and in this case it'll, I guess, connect to a database and count how many times it's been connected. Alright, so okay, now create the Docker file. So let's create the Docker file. So get rid of that. Oh, it's a nice idea, but it just didn't work, right? So from Python, get the Alpine, set up a work directory /code, set the environment for the application, apk add. I don't know what apk means. No cache, GCC. I don't know. I have no idea what this is. It's run, so you're running something called this command apk. Then we're going to copy some text file called requirements.txt, which I don't have. So let's make sure I have that. Okay, requirements. All right, let's come back to the Docker file. It might not actually be in this directory. Pip install. Okay, it's going to expose port 5000, copy content, and then give it a command to run Flask. This is probably what I was missing and why the other one just crashed, right? I didn't tell it to do anything. This command basically tells the image what to do when it starts up. And what it should do is something. Alright, I've probably set this up wrong. Don't upsell me right now, thank you. Alright, let's save this. Control S. Save requirements. I'm going to go back and look and see. Let's go back and okay, it's telling me to make directories and all this stuff. Okay, create another file. Okay, requirements.txt in your project directory and paste this in. So two requirements, Flask and Redis. Redis is a little web server. Or is it a database? I can never remember. I think it might be a database. It's an open source BSD licensed in-memory structure store used as a database cache and message broker. There you go. That's what it is. Okay, here's our Docker file. Now we're defining our service in our compose file. Okay. Build and run with compose. It should work now. Let's see if it does. Alright, so I'll just run docker compose up. And it's working. So it said port 5000. So I should be able to access this from port. Right. So localhost 5000. And nothing. Maybe it's running securely. No, I didn't think that was it. All right. It exited. Let's remove. remove. Oh, I hope I didn't remove grasshopper, although, no, there it is. Okay, good. Alright, let's try this all again. And let's go back to the first ones. I don't keep making them. Alright, Docker compose up. Okay, so it created both of them. See on the left hand side here, right, DB1, that's the database doing stuff. And the other one, when it's doing stuff, it should say whatever it is, Pi 1 or something. Didn't do anything, so we don't really know, do we? But here's where it started up. MySQL test done. MySQL test web 1 done. Oh, it would just say web 1 then. Okay. So let's go to 2. Let's see what we have running. Docker PS. And we only have the database running again. I've been to this show. Have I saved everything? Yep. How's our time? 4:22. Eating time again. So this won't work. Nope. Let's see if I can find in my application, my SQL test. This exited. Nothing in the logs. Nothing to look at. Oh, localhost 8,000, not 5,000. This won't do anything. No. Stats. Container needs to be started. So it didn't do anything. Let's try starting it again. Yeah, it exits right away. Exit without explanation right away. I'm pretty sure I did the stuff they wanted me to do. Docker file. Let's try to build the Docker file. How do I do that? Docker build. Right, Docker build out path URL. I can never remember. Docker build. There's a simple way. See again, you see how hard this is, right? Here we go. Thank you, Andrew Oduwan. Docker build. So, and see, he's going to give me an actual example, super simple example of a Docker file, and then how to build it. Let's use Andrew's example, because the Docker one is honestly crap. Right, now maintainer is depreciated and we should use label now. Excuse me. Add hello pi. Okay, so did he give me a hello pi example to use? No, he did not. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. Here's the Docker build command. Docker build We have to give it a tag. That's why, because yeah, the term dollar is not recognized. Oh, right. On other systems, the dollar sign is a command prompt. There we go. Looks like it's building. Looks good to me. Let's see if we can run that puppy now. This is all really basic stuff. It shouldn't be a problem. Okay. Docker, run, port 5000. Simple Flask. That's what we're calling it. Python hello py. That's the command to execute, I guess. I've forgotten. Alright. The dollar sign again. Can't open hello py because I never created hello py, and of course it never copied it over when I built it. So let's come back, see it again, right? I've come to this page, pretty good help page. Where is hello py? Right? Where is hello py? Where is hello.py? It just yeah. Sorry, it just annoys me. I can find a hello py somewhere. Of course, Google thinks I'm trying to go to that website. The first Python script, hello py. There we go. And let's put that in here. But again, right, because this is the series, Stephen follows instructions. These are what I would call defeaters. I think that's a good name for them. Defeaters, right? They're things that, for one reason or another, in your instructions, will just totally defeat the person trying to follow them. In this case, it's a simple thing, right? A really simple thing. They have not put in hello.py, right? We have instructions here, good, clear instructions with an example that if you just run it, will fail. Now, I've been doing this long enough, I can figure out that, okay, I can fix this. But, you know, as we move out of my comfort zone, and we get there pretty quickly, I can't fix this. And then that's when I just have something that breaks. All right, let's try building the image again. Be faster because we've already downloaded most of our files. Shouldn't have to download anything, really. Running apt-get update. Always a good idea. Although it's been a few seconds since I ran it. La-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da. La-dee-da. It's even slower than last time. And executor failed. Why? Unable to locate package python.pip. Well, it's not in here. Shouldn't be an issue. pip. Well, we had no problem with it a second ago. Let's try that again. Oops. Doctor build. How weird. And we need pip in order to install Flask. Wow. Let's wipe out everything. And we'll try it from the top. Alright, MySQL test, that's from before. Remove. Zealous Austin. It's a name that Docker gave it. We're going to remove. Alright. So, starting from scratch. I don't understand. I don't understand. We don't need this anymore. Unable to locate package Python pip. All right. Oops. Okay, so what I'm doing there is I'm separating out all of these commands. Oops. So install. So I want it to install, answer yes to everything, and then the name of the program. And we might be able to narrow down where things are going wrong. Maybe. It didn't even build. Alright. Okay, I have nothing else running in any other PowerShell, so to run it from the same terminal. Each terminal keeps its own memory of the commands that I ran. Alright, let's build this again. It's updating apt-get. It's installing wget, installing Python. Can't find Python pip. Without Python pip, I don't get Flask. Without Flask, I don't get a server. Without a server, I can't make it start, and my container will exit. All this because the example I was using didn't have, wanted me to build a stupid Docker thing. So I'm trying to find the solution to this. And it's saying install these things first. Might work. So we needed to run them before apt-get. So run and run. Don't know if this will help, but let's try setting that. Now let's try building. Nope. Can't do that either. All right. You know what I'm going to do? Because I don't need any of this. This is what kills me. I don't need any of this. And this is why I don't like messing around with Python. I have no idea why it's not working. It's just simply refusing to install pip for no good reason. And now here it's refusing to install software properties common for no good reason. If I was on my work machine, and this is what used to happen to me, if I was on my work machine, it's got all kinds of lockdowns and stuff, right? Because it's government. And then I'd be wondering, well, have I run against some kind of, block installed by computer services? But this isn't my work machine. This is my personal computer. I've set it up myself. I know what's on this thing, and it's not that. It's something else. But of course, all it says is unable to locate package. And I'm sitting here is like, are you stupid? Yeah. All right, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Grasshopper folder. All I need is an image. I don't care what image. So let's just use this image. In fact, we'll even, we won't even bother with the ports and the networks and that, because this is all what I'm experimenting with. So that's an image that works. I know because I built it. And okay, so now let's return to the old folder that I was in. So I don't need Docker file, I don't need hello pi, I don't need requirements. Let's delete those. Go into my Docker compose and put that in instead. So again, all this is an Ubuntu image I've predefined. It's Ubuntu 20. It's very recent. It's got a bunch of stuff on it, so it's fairly big. But I don't need any of that functionality. That's why I was trying to use something else just to make it light and simple and easy to load. But okay. Let's run Docker compose up. This should all work now. Oh, I forgot to save Docker compose. Okay. Control C just simply stops it, and we'll open up the Docker web application and look. And we'll remove this. So we need to be a little bit careful, but as long as we keep these clear, remove, we should be all right. I just don't really want to. I don't know why it's not removing it. Yes. Is it gone? No. I don't know why. Okay, let's whatever. Docker compose up. I've saved everything this time. There. All right. So here's Grasshopper starting up and running with no issues. Here's the database up and running. So let's come back over here. So all I've done really, change the name to Grasshopper. Right, it's running on 443. Now I haven't built my SQL client into it. That's a good point. But that's okay. I can install it while it's running. It'll be the same thing. All right. So now let's go back. Like I say, they're defeaters, right? Because now I can barely remember what I was trying to do. Just trying to link things. All right. So, remember like an hour ago where they could have just given us an image here to work from because that's all I needed to make the example work. But they didn't bother. And I had to build something, and then eventually I finally just replaced that with a Grasshopper image. All right. So now we're in a directory for the purpose of this discussion. We're in a directory called MyApp. All right. Now we're actually here in a directory called MySQL test. So every time they refer to MyApp, we're talking about MySQL test. Okay. Docker compose sort of looks like that. So it's going to create this network, MyApp default. Right. And then inside that network, a container containing web's configuration, or in our case, Grasshopper, and a container created using DB's configuration, right? And in our case, MySQL and not PostgreSQL. Unless I've actually used that. No, I'm using MySQL. Okay. All right. And I've done a little bit more. I've given the root and the name of the database and messed around with the ports a little bit. I won't need to be on 3307 anymore because I turned off Grasshopper, but okay. All right. That's me making a face because this is just so frustrating. Okay. All right. In version 2.1, overlay networks are always attachable. That tells me nothing. All right. Completely useless information here at this point, right? Because are we talking about overlay networks? No. Do we know what attachable means? No. All right. Each container can now look up the host name. This is the important bit. Can now look up the host name, web, or DB and get back the appropriate container's address. So, for example, web's application could connect to, well, PostgreSQL / DB and start using the PostgreSQL database. Okay, this isn't a URL that I've ever seen. And PostgreSQL, I guess it's like HTTP. Again, bad example. right? Bad example. But I get the point. It's important to note the distinction between host port and container port. Yep. When I'm doing network service-to-service communication, I'm using the container port. Okay. So, in theory then, let's see, how does this work? Image Postgres. Do I have to refer to the image name? Postgres? I wish they'd used a better example because I still don't get it. Right, and I don't get it because there are too many questions, right? All right. Does this replace HTTP? Or it doesn't, or, is it a protocol for accessing Postgre? I don't know. And it doesn't tell me. Within the web container, your connection string to DB would look like this. Wonder what it would look like for MySQL. Would it say MySQL : Let's try just searching on that. Now I'm gonna get, all right. All right. So here we have a guy working with MySQL. And we get Java garbage. No, it's not going to help. All right, what else we got? SQL Server, no. Maybe let's specify MySQLs. We get something more specific. I'm getting too much stuff that has nothing to do with Docker, so let's throw Docker in here. All right. Nope. Let's try Docker tip. Oh, and this is going to be something else. What's that APK command again? I don't know what that is still. I'm beginning to mutter to myself instead of actually doing like real videography. Yeah. Lovely, exciting video, eh? And there's people watching this. Well, there's nobody watching this video, but if there were, there would be people watching this video saying, "No, Stephen, it's." But that's the distance between me and the right answer. Is that? I wonder if anybody put anything into. Oh, we have Mustafa. Hi, Mustafa. I don't know when you typed this. But my email address is on my website. It's on every page of my website. And it's simply stephen@downs.ca. Oh, I've only been at this for an hour and a half. Feels like longer. So, and what you're seeing is a prime example of connectivist learning. It's the supposed instructor struggling with a problem. Okay. Okay. MySQL : / and then stuff. Okay, let's try this. Here's what we're going to do. I've got, or I should have, 2 containers running at the moment, right? Oh, I only have one window, or one terminal running. All right, let's check that. Docker PS. Yes, here's Downs Grasshopper is running, and here's MySQL is running. All right. So, I'm going to SSH into, or I'm going to open a terminal, more accurately, into Downs Grasshopper. I wonder, this should produce, oh, right, it's got to be HTTPS. Right. All right, so there's Grasshopper. Now, it's not going to connect to the database because I'm using a different database. So test script and that won't start. But it shows that my Grasshopper container is working. All right. So now what I want to do is go into it, and I always forget the exact command. It's exec something 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 something. But I document stuff. So proud of myself. So let's go into GitHub, Grasshopper, and open a terminal in the container. Now, it's probably not going to be Grasshopper 1. It'll be /Grasshopper in this case. So let's do that. You see I'm getting the name from here, right? So all right, that should work. No such container. Okay. And what is it? Oh, it's MySQL test Grasshopper 1. All right. Okay. All right. So these names are created automatically by Docker. So this is the name of the directory it's in. This is the name of the image. This is the number of the image in case there's more than one. And the Grasshopper, that's when you actually run Grasshopper inside the Grasshopper directory. And then, so it'll use that name as that directory name as the name here. All right, so I'm in the root. Now, MySQL as a command is not going to work. Right, because I don't have a local. Oh, MySQL.p. Right. All right. That's interesting. Let's now first test to see if I have MySQL client. That's what I was trying to do. Okay. All right. They give me something complicated. So, okay. MySQL hyphen capital V. Let's try that. Capital V. Oh, okay. All right, so I do have the client installed already, so I thought I would have to install it, but it probably came with the image. That's handy. So, now, my host is on DB. Let's try and see if I can just connect to it. MySQL host DB. This is a total experiment. $u root and password. Ah, how about that? Test DB. Error. Plugin caching. What was the password again? Test DB. Let's try that. We get the same error. No space. Nope. Okay. Let's copy that error and look it up. Let's copy that error and look it up. Means your user needs the plugin. Well, yeah. We'll change the encryption for a password. I don't think that's the problem. I tell you. The issues, you know. Oh no, it's 3306 anyways. Unknown. Okay. So I don't know whether that's because I'm trying to access it incorrectly or because let's do all of this. Oops. Control C. See, someone out there would say, basic. Here it is. Luke would know. Docker. MariaDB host not allowed to connect. Or MySQL client has not been installed yet. Oh, APK must be. Oh, Alpine APK. But that's for Alpine. I'm in Ubuntu and it uses a different installer. I use apt-get. Let's try. I mean, maybe I'm wrong in assuming I have apt-get install. Maybe I'm wrong in assuming I have this installed already. Yes. Well, it is installing it. All right. Now, access denied. Well, that's a different message, isn't it? Remember, I ran that up here before installing it. And I just got that cannot open shared object. All right, this is progress. So db u root, and I'll indicate it. Yes, I am willing to use a password. Enter password. Test db. Access down. Well, I might have typed it wrong. Nope. All right. Still denied. See, I've made some progress here, but still not quite right. Still not quite right. Let's try root at localhost. Nope. It's like I'm trying to hack my own system here. See, it's not right. It's root at whatever its site is different from root at this container, and this URL is an internal URL within our own little network. Six. Nope. So I'm just trying stuff. Let's try. This won't work. Nope. This should not work. Nope. Okay, why not? MySQL in container from another container. What's the exact message? Access denied. Okay, space in there. Okay. The error usually means the password supplied is incorrect, but it was not incorrect. We know that. The container started with, have you changed the passwords? No. Okay. Docker compose, remove volume. No. This got me as well. They're all going delete entire directories. Access denied for user test user. MySQL root host equals percent as that would be helpful if I had context. A two-liner isn't context. Oh, because they use the environment variable. Yeah, it's interesting. Some characters aren't allowed in it. Yeah, it's not that. Another recommendation to just remove everything. So everything is telling me that it all should be kind of working. All right. I had to execute all of these steps. Remove my DB volume folder. Remove all affected Docker images. Yes, here's poor guy. Lost his entire database following instructions. Okay. Yeah, see, here's somebody who tried to remove and didn't get any joy. Oh yeah, this poor guy put password in quotes. See, I didn't assign any volumes. Image MySQL, restart always. MySQL root password. Oh, equals root. Well, duh. All right. Let's try that. Let's try typing root as my password. And I'm in. All right. Good thing I didn't delete everything. All right, I don't need that advice anymore. Okay. So, let's come back to my picture. So, I used this command to enter into this container. Then inside, I installed my SQL client. And what I'll do is I'll edit the build for that to install my SQL client on the build. And then I ran the command. I've lost it already. MySQL $HDB. Here it is, right? So there's the command that I ran. I'll just put that down here, although I actually ran it over. Well, I'll put it in here because this is where I ran it. Okay. So I ran this command, make it small, in this container. So this container knows this, because this container, this container is called DB. That's the name I gave it. So let's correct this here. This container is called DB. So when I ran this command, this corresponds to this. So let me just highlight those. Right. And we'll draw a line connecting them. Okay. And now this is my user in here as defined by the Docker compose file that built this container. And the password, as I now know, is root, not the other wrong password I was using. So now I want to execute this command, mysql dump. So how? I have to, now MySQL dump is a separate application. It probably doesn't work in this container, does it? Okay, let's just exit. Whoops, not there. Oh, jeez. What have I done? There we go. And, okay, so let's exit. All right, back in my container. Let's see if MySQL, this should probably just, oops. MySQL dump. Oh, it likes that. All right. So, all right. So that's a list of what's in here. Nothing but directories. I'm running as root, so I can. Doesn't matter where I'm working. You know, I'm working on temporary disposable containers. It doesn't matter that I'm using root. But if I was doing anything in production or out in the open web, it would matter a lot. So just keep that in mind. All right. So MySQL dump. This is the money shot here now. MySQL dump $HDB dash user root $P to indicate that I'm going to use a password. And now I want the output to go to backup.sql. Now if I'm lucky, it'll show up right here. Right? Should ask me for my password. Didn't. Oh, but it gave me a backup.sql. Let's see if there's anything in it. Whoops. Oh, okay. It just gave me some instructions. Okay, well that's perfect. Again, fail silently, right? Does everything you want it to do, but okay. So I need to add, all right, database. MySQL dump options. Now the database, what's the name of the database? TestDB. Okay. That should do it. Try that. All right, root. Now let's see what's in my backup file. And that's my backup. That's what it should look like. So, the answer to my question is this. All right. So what I want to do is in here, just revise this. Well, we don't need to revise the whole thing. So here, I want to run this in order to, I don't need to move that, in order, and that will put backup.sql here, not here, up here, which is where I want it to be. And now if I wanted, I could serve it using my server and I could get it out. So in Perl, what you do is, oh, and it's Mysql Dump. Right. So Mysql Dump, I guess it was probably installed when I installed the MySQL client. I'll bet you that's what it was. But I don't know that for sure. I'm just speculating. Okay, so now, and then in Perl, I take this entire command, and as I recall, it's something like eval. Open folder. I'm just gonna pop into here. And where have I tried something like this before? I tried it. Oh, right. It should be. I'm searching now. Okay, searching. MySQL dump. No results found. What wouldn't be in there? But no, I mean it's. Oh, I spelled it wrong. All right, readme, admin. Yeah, it's in admin. Here we go. So, admin. It's here somewhere. CGI, admin, MySQL dump. Try to find it. MySQL dump. Oh, that's the only place it uses it. Oh, let's use it somewhere else. Nope. I just recently moved everything, so I don't know where it is. I don't know where I put it. DB, right, let's try that. Yeah, here we go. DB backup. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't even need to do anything else. So if in Perl, if I want to run this command, I'm just going to put it here now for now. I use this tick. I don't know, there's probably an official name for it. Basically it denotes a string literal. It also does that in JavaScript too. And then my command, now this one won't work, right? And then at the end I put a semicolon. So, whoops. So this won't work because this was just my test. It's not the actual production names. So see, here's the actual user, the actual password that should be used. right? So basically I'm using the same Mysql Dump command. In fact, I'm using exactly the same, except I'm going to be using whatever the name of the database was that I used in Docker Compose to start it up. So I'm not going to solve that problem right now. It's a little let's keep our names straight kind of problem. Nothing major, but this is my answer to the question. How do I execute a command from one place in another? If I wanted to do this from a cron tab, cron would run in a separate container entirely, and this is the command that I would use except without the little ticks. So I don't need to do any fancy linking or anything like that. I don't even need to do shared volumes. It'll record the output right where I want it to go. So that's it. I needed a grand total of 5, if we include the extra space. 6 characters is what I needed to add. So this has been 2 hours or so in search of 6 characters. But I did solve it. So that's pretty much the end of this episode of Stephen Follows Instructions. Let's see if anybody was listening. Oh yeah, I was up to 3 people there for a bit. I was down to 0 for a bit. Okay, I'll prepare a CMOOC, but I don't exactly know how. Okay, Mustafa, I don't know if you're still here or not. We'll make part of what I'm trying to do with the whole grasshopper thing is set it up so that you can easily make your own connectivist MOOC. And the idea is that you'll just be able to run the Docker image that I've created. That sets up the MOOC for you, and then you would put content in it, and we'll talk about that. In fact, I'm going to offer a MOOC sometime soon, sooner hopefully rather than later. This solves a big problem for me right here. That's why I wanted to get it on video. But I'm going to run a MOOC and explain how to use Grasshopper to run a connectivist MOOC. Now, you don't have to use Grasshopper. But the reason why I want to use Grasshopper is because I know it inside and out. And all the concepts that I need to be able to explain, I can explain with Grasshopper rather than fighting with some other system that won't do exactly what I want it to do. So, like, say, fighting with Moodle that blocks people from accessing, you have to log in and all of that. You know, a person should not need to have to log in to follow a Grasshopper MOOC or to take a MOOC. You shouldn't have to sign in. You shouldn't have to register. There shouldn't be requirements. The whole idea is that it's open. There shouldn't be barriers to accessing the resources. That's all what I'm up to with Grasshopper and the personal learning environment and all of that. So it's easiest to explain these concepts from the context of that application, but that application is not necessary. Anyhow, but I think it's a great question, Mustafa. And if for people watching the video, maybe you haven't seen this, he's asking, what he should use, how he should go about creating a CMOOC to implement middle school science using connectivism. There's all kinds of moving parts in that question, and I want to answer those because I think they can be answered. But I need to show, right? I can't just tell. I need to show, and I need the tool to show, and this is part of making the tool. And this video is part of showing too. Because, okay, nobody wants to watch a 2-hour video, so maybe somebody wants to do excerpts and a best of Stephen's 2-hour video. But really, this was an example of someone who kind of knows what he's doing, kind of doesn't know what he's doing, working his way through a problem, and the difficulties, the defeaters that he runs into, but just how to just keep working the problem, um, until it's solved. And the kinds of mistakes that can be made, like getting my password wrong, I mean, that can happen. And I want to emphasize, they can happen to anyone. They do happen to anyone. Maybe this is the part to clip and save, right? Especially when you're just starting out with technology, or starting out in any field, you run into these things and you think, it's happening to me because I'm stupid, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm new to the field, other people are so much better at it. No. These things happen to everyone. Nobody works through this without working through this. And that's really important. Oh, okay. You're still there, Mustafa. Let me just give you my email address. There's my email address in the chat, and anyone else who's managed to watch this far deserves my email address. So you can follow up. But yeah. So I can't, answer in a second how to offer a connectivist course, but this is one part of it. I will be offering a MOOC on the subject this year, sometime over the summer, I hope, the Northern Hemisphere summer, and we'll explain that. We'll make that clear, because it needs to be talked about. All right, then. I'm going to wrap up this MOOC. I'm going to wrap up this video. We're at 2 hours and 6 minutes. It's 5:33 my time. Mustafa, I can only imagine what it is your time. I don't know where you are, so it could be anything, right? But until next time, there will be a next time, because I'm pretty happy now. I got this solved with a single command. I'm pretty happy. So yeah, we'll talk to you again. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.